Everyone, how are you all? Welcome to the class, students. Today we will discuss about the remaining questions in book and copy about the chapter number 2, that is flowers, fruits and seeds. Here this is the completion of the concept map, the flower that having calyx, corolla and roscium and gynoecium, and that is further divided into anther and filament. This one having stigma, style and ovary. So this anther participates in self pollination, and after here cross pollination is also. So process of fertilization is occurred here and zygote is formed and new plant is produced. Now next one is picture based question. You know that this structure that is known as stigma, and thereafter style and ovary is also here. This one is embryo sac and this one is anther, and this thread like structure is filament. This one is ovary and this tube is called the pollen tube. And next one here synergids you are seeing, and this last one is male gamete. So this one is pollen tube synergids. Now next one is students, here this one is puzzle, and in question answer flowers, fruits and seeds, first one is describe the structure of flower in details. So you know that there are four parts of a flower, that is calyx, corolla and roscium and gynoecium. The flower are the most beautiful part of the plant. Flowers are of many sizes, shapes and colors. It is the part of plant which contains the reproductive organs. Its main function is to produce the fruits and seeds. A flower arises from the floral bud on the stem and it is attached on the axis by structure that is called the pedicel. And the pedicel continue to form a slightly swollen tip that is called the receptacle, and the receptacle bears the four consecutive holes: calyx, corolla, androcium and gynoecium. This calyx is the outermost hole and it is almost white in color. It is called the sepals also, and sepals protect the flower when it is in bud form. And the corolla is second hole, the flower consisting of colorful ring of petals. Its main function is to attract the insects, and androcium is the male reproductive part. It have little stalk with swollen top of stamen that is called the anther. Next one is gynoecium. It is the female reproductive part of the flower. It consisting of sepals or pistil. Each carpel it consists of a part, that is stigma, style and ovary. You can see it in the figure. This upper one is stigma, then style, then lower swollen part is called the ovary. Next one is explain the fertilization of flowers. Here in flowering plants, when a pollen grains falls on the stigma of a pistil, the pollen grains grows a pollen tube which enter into the ovary through the style. A male gamete moves down the pollen tube and the pollen tube bursts open at, and here in the ovary the male gamete of the pollen it combined with the female gamete present into the ovule to form a fertilized egg cell that is called a zygote, and zygote developed into the embryo which gives rise into new part, means new plant. Okay. Students, next question is how is the pollination carried out by insects and winds and water. So you know that pollination it carried by the insects or wind or the water. The pollination is done by the insects such as bees and butterflies. When they sit on the flower for sucking the nectar, the pollen grains stick to its body, and when it sits on another flower it transfers from one place to another place, and in this way the insect carry out pollination. And by wind, when wind blow the light here, through the wind light seeds moves from one place to place another place, and it helps in pollination. Wind pollinated flower are not showy because they don't have to attract insects, example grass, maize, rice, etc. And last one is pollination by water. The pollination in aquatic plants is done by water. Since pollen grains are light, they are easily carried by water from flower to flower for the pollination. Example is Vallisneria and Hydrilla. Next one is explain the germination of seeds and the types of germination which help of a suitable diagram. What are the conditions necessary for germination? So you know the beginning of the growth of seed with the help of water, air and warmth is called the germination. So types of germinations, it is of two types, epigeal and hypogeal germination. In epigeal germination, here the hypocotyl, here this hypocotyl, it elongated and rapidly and arcs upwards, pulling the cotyledons which above the soil. And in hypogeal germination, in this germination the epicotyle, it here it elongates and cotyledons, it remains below the soil. Next one is what conditions are necessary for the germination. So you know that water, air and suitable temperature, these all things are necessary for the germination. In presence of these conditions, a plant is germinated. Okay, so this chapter is finished. Thank you everyone.